Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay, so it seems like there is one name that keeps popping up in the comments, and that is Sid Roth.
Yep.
So I'm seeing a few different ones. I'm not going to display any particular one, but the essentially the idea behind them is how can you endorse Sid Roth, who is a false prophet and teaches false teaching?
Got it. Yes, that's a fair question. Now, what's interesting, again, different circles. I've been on live talk radio for almost 14 years now, 5 days a week, and our phone lines are open most days. And then Fridays, people can call in with anything. And then I do live chats many times where floods of questions come in. And I almost never, ever, 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 ever get asked about Sid or
Mm.
about, in other words, the questions that have come in here already today are probably 100 times more proportionately than I'll get over the course of 5 or 10 years on my own show. So just different. What's happened now, like Stephen Kozar put out a detailed video, said, "Hey, Dr. Brown, maybe you're not aware of who's on Sid's show." So he put together a lengthy video, and then Justin on some of his put stuff together and sent it to me. So number one, let me give you context. I've known Sid since 1984. 1984. It's almost 40 years. I've known him as a very serious believer. I've known him as holding to all the fundamentals of the faith in an orthodox way, the things that we would say are required for salvation, dogmatically so. I've known him behind the scenes. My son-in-law Ryan worked side by side with him for years. We shared office space years ago. He had offices, and different ones of us rented from him. So I've known him a long time. That's the first thing. I've known him to be a very serious, committed follower of Yeshua. I know him to be a man of prayer. I know him to be very excited about the word. I know him to be a constant witness, sharing the gospel wherever he goes, especially looking for opportunities to share the gospel with Jewish people. He's not in this for money. He drives a simple car. He's, until recent years, not even made enough money just for ministry, for normal living. His wife had some real estate investments that helped him. So he's not a mercenary. So I know those things about him. And I've never watched his show. Okay, I've not watched his TV show. I used to listen to his radio show decades ago, but it's very different than the TV show today. So that's first thing. I've known him all those years. I don't back down from that, and I know him to be a committed believer. So the question is, what about some of the guests on his show? Well, looking at some of the clips that were sent and some of the weirdest stuff I've seen. It's stuff I've said publicly. I would never have those people on my show. And what I did was I sent the video, Stephen Kozar's video, like an hour, 40 minutes, to Sid's top people and said, you got to watch this. And you've got to improve the vetting. You've got to do better. There's just flaky stuff out there. And especially people that are making claims to supernatural revelation, you've got to do it. Now, here's what's interesting. His ministry does not have a fundraising department, but they have a vetting department with 6 people whose entire job is to vet potential guests. You say, I don't get it. It's like, I'm just telling you the truth. Okay. So I've given them further counsel in terms of improving the vetting and how to test things better, etc. So I can only tell you what I'm telling you. I've known him almost 40 years. I know him to be a sincere, committed believer who really lives a life devoted to the Lord. And if you sit and talk to him about all the fundamentals of the faith, he'll check them off. As to why he has certain guests on or what people would consider lack of discernment, I can't answer it. It's bizarre to me. I'm just being candid. So I'm his friend and I remain his friend. And do I endorse all the TV shows or the guests? Not a lot of what I've seen. Some I'm sure are fine, but a lot of what I've seen, definitely not. I wouldn't do it.
Gotcha. So a lot of people coming back after that answer, and I do sort of want to switch it up from the what you think about other teachers at some point here, but a lot of people coming back saying that you sort of avoided the question there, and so essentially just sort of claiming ignorance. Do you for let me say for the commenters, if you think that there's something that Sid does himself that is some sort of false teaching, could you put that in the chat and maybe we'll discuss that? Um, but from what you're saying, Dr. Brown, essentially is that he's having the wrong guests on and it's not being vetted correctly. Is that correct?
Yeah, in certain cases, absolutely. But here, let me just throw some of that honestly here. All right. Let's go back to this. It's the critics who are making a big deal of the fact that I will not condemn Sid and say that he is a hellbound charlatan and false prophet. Okay. If you listen to my show, Sid's not an issue. The only time we work closely together is if I've got a Jewish evangelism project or something, or he's helping. Like I did TV shows that they air in the Middle East for outreach. A series of Jewish apologetic shows. They set up a studio for me. I recorded it there. They put Hebrew captions to it. They did interviews with people on the streets in Israel. We interspersed those, so we worked together there to get that message out to Israel. But otherwise, this is not an issue. So here's my challenge, and this is where I feel that people strain in a gnat and strain out a gnat and swallow a camel, and it's a big concern I have. You know how long it takes to write a commentary on a book? I've written commentaries on Jeremiah, on Job, and working on Isaiah now. You know how long it takes to research some of the stuff that we do and put out, like my 5 volumes on answering Jewish objections to Jesus, over 1,500 pages, and a work of a couple of decades plus of research and writing and interacting with rabbis. It takes a ton of time. I can go on and on, all dealing with all the cultural issues that we do. Queer Thing Happened to America, 700 pages, 1,500 endnotes, and other books like that. 5 op-eds a week, 5 radio shows a week, teaching in ministry schools, teaching in seminaries. I don't have time to sit around and watch, oh, so-and-so said this on TV. God hasn't called me to do that, okay? So what's really interesting is that you'll have a few people attack me for things that they feel I'm failing in. It's like, well, hang on. What am I ministering on? What am I teaching on? What am I preaching on? Find issue with that. Oh, you're friends with so-and-so. No. Find issue with what I'm talking about. I don't have charismatics attacking me day and night because I'm friends with James White, and James is a Calvinist cessationist. I don't have that. So why is it that the shoe only fits one way? So tell you what, I'm going to critique all the critics and say, how come you're not on the front lines of Jewish evangelism like I am? And Paul said to the Jew first. I'm going to critique all of them and say, hey, I've been overseas more than 150 times preaching the gospel. Where are you overseas? Hey, we've raised up and sent out missionaries, some of the finest people on the planet, for decades, and supported them sacrificially. One's been martyred already for the gospel, bringing it to the Muslim world. That's what we're doing around the world. And on and on and on. I could challenge you what you're doing with the culture wars and so on, and where are the teachings you've done and commentaries in the Bible and so on. But and I'm not saying that to boast. I'm saying it to make a point. Why is it that the main issue that some people have is, well, when someone calls you and says, well, you condemn this person as a false teacher, and I say, I believe their teaching is wrong. I believe they're in serious error, but I don't know that they are hellbound sinners, right? A false prophet is a wolf in sheep's clothing. So I can say, no, I don't believe that person's a prophet at all. But to say they're a false prophet means I'm saying they are right now hellbound sinners. I won't cross that line. And that becomes the whole focus of the ministry and the litmus test. So here's my challenge to you. Again, written over 40 books, again, over 2,000 articles. Tell me what that I've said that you differ with. And I'm not mad. I'm just trying to help people. Because we've got a great constituency. We're able to reach millions of people every week. That's wonderful. But I want to help these people whose main focus seems to be not, okay, everything I've taught, preached, written for decades, but rather, why won't I condemn this person to hell? That concerns me theologically. That concerns me in terms of focus and emphasis. And because this live chat, feel free to share your perspective to what I'm saying to you.